Oh my god, that's so funny. So I did have the stream set to private, but I did share the link to a couple places here on YouTube and Twitter real fast. But now people can actually see the stream. So apologies for that again. For those that are just joining us here, we are working on a Nicola Salviori illustration or concept over here of a Brontosaurus, and we are working on the very early stages of blockout. So essentially what I was just talking about there was for this main process, and feel free to drop any questions or comments in the live chat if you have any questions as we go here. But for this process, I really recommend on not worrying too much about proportions. The beginning stages should be more so of a focus on just creating form, just creating large shapes. So for here at least, I'm just getting a few of these pieces into place. So we have this little transitional piece for the arm, and really, this doesn't have to be beautiful or perfect. We are just trying to get something on the canvas quickly. So here we go with a quick little duplicate there. Start moving this into place. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the stream. I was streaming for a few minutes there, just setting some stuff up, and I realized that the stream was on private. I didn't have it set to public, so nobody could see the stream. So apologies for that. But welcome, if you are just joining us and joining me, welcome to the stream. We're doing a little Bronto by Nicola Salviori, and we are working on those early stages of just getting some stuff on the canvas. During this time, if you guys have any questions, comments, love, whatever you want to send, please do so. I love hearing from you guys, and it's been a long time since the last stream, since the last live stream. Hence the technical difficulties there in the beginning. Let's go ahead and fix that. Get just a simple piece of geo here to get the tail. Beautiful, right? This is what it's about in the early stages. Just quickly getting some stuff on there. What's going on, guys? Mr. Watermelon, Nelatina, Chris, Renderides, Hayno. Hey, guys. Welcome to the stream. Let me know if you can hear me, okay? If you can hear me and if you can hear the music. I'm not sure if I set it up correctly or not. But welcome. Glad to have you here. Did you change your desk layout? I have a brand new desk. So yes, I did change my desk layout. Completely new everything. Well, not everything, but the desk, yes. How do you make mouths? Well, we can maybe talk about that with this guy here. He's got a mouth, so we'll look at that. No music, but can hear you. Can hear, but no music. All right, I think I know what the problem is. I was trying to set everything on two audio tracks, but I don't think that actually works for streaming. Let me do one of these. How about now? Can you hear me now? And can you hear the music? Welcome, everybody that's just joining. Glad to have you here. All right, let's continue on. So, as I was saying, and if you could let me know if you hear the music now, that would be awesome. Yes, says Patrick. Patrick, what's going on? Welcome. How are you doing? Patrick is a student of the Appeal Academy. I'm sure there might be a couple more in here. But welcome. Hope you're doing well, Patrick. As well as everybody else. It does work. The multiple tracks does work. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll set it up later. I'm not even going to try to read your username. I apologize, but you say, because of you, I started doing sculpts. You're incredible. Thanks for everything. I send you a hug from Guatemala. Well, thank you. I don't know why YouTube said this message is held for review, but we will show it. We'll give maybe a couple more seconds here for other people to pop in. Am I doing more Nomad Sculpt videos? Possibly. Possibly. I don't have any in the works right now, but absolutely in the future. I prefer geometric shapes when blocking out. Ritsubo. I'm not a fan of Z-spheres, and I have a video or two talking about that and why that is. I think if you search on my YouTube channel for Z-spheres, it'll probably pop up. Not positive, though. Materials are so hard. How do you do it so easily? I don't know what you mean by materials are hard. This is a custom material. I have a few custom materials here that I really like to use. This is my sculpt here. Looking kind of funky. Yes, he is. All right. So let's go ahead and continue here with the block out. If you guys have any more questions as we continue here, or if any technical issues occur, just let me know. And yeah, let's do it. So as I was saying here previously, during these initial stages, we got this beautiful little dinosaur. You don't want to worry about proportions. You don't want to worry about proportions until you start getting more things on your canvas. The reason why is the same way if you're doing any kind of other art form. If you just have a couple lines on your surface or on your canvas or whatever, which is akin to what we have here, we just have a few pieces of geometry. A little bit more than a few now, but when you are in that state, you're not going to be able to judge proportions very well at all. You need to get quite a bit further into the process before you start worrying about proportions. Right now, got to extend this neck, get that up real tall. There's a long neck. Body's going to need to be a lot larger as well. One thing that you can do during this process is use a little function called Transpose Master, which we'll look at here in just a moment. Let's see, what do I want to do with these feet? How do I want to create these? What I love about sculpting, there's so many ways to create everything. There's just a billion ways that you could do everything. So I think somebody was just asking about Z-spheres, right? Hey, if Z-spheres are what you like using, then go crazy. Use those Z-spheres. For me personally, I don't like using Z-spheres. I actually think they're bad for a number of reasons. And, if you like using Z-spheres, more power to you, but I just don't. And I've talked about that in a lot of videos here, so. But let's just move these feet back, duplicate them, get another floppy foot there. Gorgeous. Couldn't be better. It's impossible. It literally couldn't be better. And then, we'll continue on here with the proportions and keep sculpting. Let's just dynamesh a couple pieces just to get things a bit more messy. A little bit of a lower dynamesh there. Dynamesh, ha ha ha, get it? Dynamesh. Dynamic dynamesh. Okay. Do you put a mask in the feet and scale it to make a hoof? Possibly. That might be, we could use some masks there. Let's see. What's the difference between ZBrush Core and normal ZBrush? It's missing quite a lot, but if you go to the Pixelogic website, you can see an actual breakdown of all the different differences. All right, let's. What do we want to do with this head? It looks like this neck kind of tapers up into this shape quite a bit here. Like I said, just using Dynamesh, get a little bit messy. Not worry too much about the surface at this point. Just focusing or forcing ourselves to focus on primary shapes. So here, this needs to come forward, maybe about there, come up. So we're looking for a bigger proportional shape, and probably even more than that. Very boxy, which is what I really liked about this concept, which is why I chose it for our stream today. Speaking of, I am only going to be on for probably another hour and a half because I have some gains to get, some working out. I'm going bouldering. I've been getting into bouldering lately. I'm not very good at it yet, but I will be one day, maybe, if I keep up with it. It's a lot of fun. I really like it. It's probably one of the most fun little workouts I've done. just because I really like the fact that it's almost gamified in a way to where you have different levels of routes, right? For anybody that boulders. If you don't know what bouldering is, it's rock climbing minus the tether, essentially. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it for anybody that has the opportunity. I enjoy it quite a lot. But like I said, I'm really bad at it. Trying to get better. I've never beat a V3 before, which is like the level 3 kind of the route there. But yeah. We'll continue on here. Flattening out the back of this shape. Scurry? No, it's not scary. You're not very far off the ground. In rock climbing, you can go upwards of 30 plus feet, or even more if you're like out in the wilderness. But indoor rock climbing, I would say it's pretty rare to go over 30 feet. For bouldering, you will not go maybe 15 feet off the ground, and then there's cushions below, so it's not that big of a deal if you fall. There are different ways you can fall as well to make it more squishy. You don't break your knees. All right, so we got some kind of basic shapes going around here for that mouth. It's important to just kind of sketch some of this stuff in initially to help yourself figure out the rest of the proportions. So right here, this area, I can kind of see that there's a volume there. But first, I'm kind of getting this lip to pull out a bit more, kind of represent that shape. This kind of slants in this way. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Normally, I work a lot faster than this. It's a little hard to talk and sculpt at the same time, I won't lie. And then for this shape, like I said, needs to come out quite a bit more. Lots of different ways to do this. You just use a move brush, start pushing it, fill it in with a clay. If you guys have any questions, though, about process, let me know. Be happy to answer what I can. Or if you have any questions about bouldering, since I'm a bouldering pro now as well. Converting my YouTube channel to a bouldering YouTube channel. Would you ever post your samples from the academy, from my Appeal Academy, my course? So my student stuff. I have one example. I have thought about that, of asking a few students if they would be okay with sharing some of their feedback sessions for each course, or not for each course, for each session, because it's really hard to describe the value of these feedback sessions just with words without actually seeing them. But once I get students in and they go through like the 1 or 2 sessions, they're like, wow, this is a lot, man. And that is because these feedback sessions are one-on-one, not one-on-one, I shouldn't say. There's no, back and forth or interaction in that regard for video to make them so that I can get more content, more content in the actual recording. But they typically go close to about an hour in length with each time. On the website, I always say 30 minutes to give myself some leeway. Depending on if we don't have enough to talk about. But typically they're going pretty close to an hour, if not over. But yeah, I've thought about that because it's tough to kind of illustrate or talk about the value of those. I have it. I'm not sure if Patrick is still in the chat or if any of my other students are in the chat. But Patrick can attest to the value of those feedback sessions, I'm sure. And I always ask my students to know, be candid. Don't. It's not like I'm sitting here like, Patrick, if you don't give me a glowing recommendation, that next feedback session, man, it's gonna be a bad one. It's gonna be rough. Do I prefer being inside or outside? Right now inside, because it's like 20 degrees Fahrenheit outside, very cold, and it's been snowing like crazy. I've been shoveling off my driveway all week. It's horrible. I hate it. I hate shoveling snow. It's not fun. Patrick. It is the dinosaur from Crash Bandicoot 4. This is Nicholas Salviori's work here. And if I miss your question or anything in chat, please just put it back in. It's scrolling a little too fast for me to kind of keep up with it. Otherwise, I won't get any actual sculpting done, and I'm getting very little sculpting done already as it is. But hey, we're getting a little bit closer here proportionally, slowly but surely. And just using very simple tools right now. Nothing complicated at all. I'm in something called Transpose Master right now that allows me to work on a bunch of individual subtools all at once. Very handy little function. You can find it up in the Z plugin menu if you're unfamiliar. But as you just saw, I made a bunch of changes to all that at once, and then it kind of cascades those changes back here. Very, very handy. I love me some Transpose Master. How do you control ZBrush's camera so it doesn't wobble all over the place? Yeah, I would say just get used to it. I recommend watching my video on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist called Where Do I Start? And if you have not watched that and you are getting into ZBrush, I would recommend watching that. That first video is going to help you out with navigation here quite a bit. I recommend using right-click navigation. That'll do you a lot of favors. But yeah, it's really easy for me to navigate in ZBrush. I love ZBrush's navigation. A lot of people come from other 3D applications and they say, hey, this isn't like everything I've ever, anything I've ever used before, and I hate it. And I feel very similar when I go to other 3D applications because I wish that they were more similar to ZBrush. It's really just a matter of time getting used to it. But once you're used to it, it is actually quite nice. In terms of like literally just camera navigation here in ZBrush, I'm not sure what I would actually tweak. I really like the ability to, with right-click nav, you can hover over meshes. I just have right-click set to a pen button here. And then when you hover over your screen or your tablet, like I'm doing here, you can just right-click and pick your rotational pivot point. Use the Shift key and Alt key to snap axes, Shift. Use Alt to zoom, pan, etc. Very, very nice. Very nice. I'm a big fan. But I've been using ZBrush every single day for quite a long time. So it doesn't take long to get used to, though. It is something that you have to put the time into, though. It's not like ZBrush is not an easy software. It's not gonna do the work for you. It's definitely something where if you want to get into it, you gotta be a little more serious about it than maybe some other stuff, maybe some other 3D programs. But all 3D programs have a learning curve. That's gonna be true with anything. All right, let's rotate around to the 3/4. Take a look at this silhouette coming down this way into the chest. Normally, I don't have my microphone in the way of my screen while I'm sculpting. Makes it a little tough. If I were not to record in a year, what would I do? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand the question. Like if I was not to spend any time like recording what I was sculpting, like if I had a whole year to just like work on something. I don't know. I've actually kind of thought about that to an extent. Probably just some like really crazy huge piece with like lots of little studies in between to kind of practice certain areas. With digital sculpting, it's sculpting's still a really slow process, but not quite as slow as it used to be. So you can do stuff a lot faster. And there are a lot of things that kind of make a lot of things that used to be hard back in the day, just, the click of a button. So I don't know. Probably some large project. As to what that would be, I don't know. I've got ideas, but nothing concrete. How did I find ZBrush? That's actually a little bit of a funny story. And it's been a long time since I've streamed, so I haven't had chances to talk about all that stuff in a while. But I was doing a study abroad program, or I was about to leave to go to Japan, to Tokyo for a study abroad program. And this was about close to 7 years ago, I want to say. Yeah, about 7 years ago. Anyway, it doesn't really matter too much, but I was playing around. I had discovered digital sculpting and high-res 3D modeling, and I fell in love with it. I said that. I don't know what that is, but I want to do that. And so I did it, and I downloaded this little program called Mudbox. Some of you have maybe heard of it. Nobody really uses Mudbox too much anymore, to my knowledge. No professional sculptors that I know really use Mudbox. I don't think there's anything wrong with Mudbox. I just think that there's more powerful applications. Probably better applications objectively. But yeah, that's what I was using at the time. And when I was going on this study abroad program, the reason why that's important is because I was taking my laptop with me. All I had was my laptop. I didn't have a desktop computer. And to run Mudbox, no, I'm sorry, I did have a desktop computer. To run Mudbox, you needed a dedicated graphics card, and my laptop didn't have one. So I ended up finding this little program called ZBrush, and I got that because it didn't require a dedicated graphics card. Used that on my laptop, bought a couple ZBrush books, went to Tokyo, studied a bunch of Japanese, and studied Japanese by day. And by night, studied a ton of ZBrush stuff. And I still have those 2 books somewhere, but they're fun to look through because like every other page is dog-eared, every other paragraph is highlighted. It's they're fun. But yeah, that's how I found ZBrush. What's going on, Fuad? Welcome to the stream. All right, so what do we need to do next? So when you are, getting to an area where you are just blocking out some of the parts and pieces, you're not doing anything too specific. I really should split these off. Once you block out, you want to start worrying about proportions, right? So that's what I've been doing here a little bit. We can do that a bit more here with a couple different techniques. Specifically, I need to z-remesh these legs, and I'm going to do that using a function called keep groups. So I need to simplify this geometry. The reason why, it's a very simple shape in the primary form, and if I have a high resolution mesh like what I had there, now it's not quite as high, it's hard to manipulate and move that around. You definitely can, but you're going to struggle. Here, I just want to take this shape and start sliding it out to kind of get that heading in the right direction. I'm not worried about this being beautiful or clean at this stage. It is more so about just getting things heading in the right space. After you get everything kind of heading in the right direction, matching the silhouette, then you can start to worry about some of that other stuff a little bit more in terms of refinement. But for now, it's just really not worth your effort because things are just meant to be messy. If you spend too much time refining in the early stages, you are just going to make mistakes to your primary forms, and you are going to have to redo all of it anyway. And that is just a lot of wasted time. It can be very hard for people to kind of get into this mindset because you don't want things to look ugly, right? You naturally want to, you look at a shape like this and you're like, that looks so stupid. Like, I need to work on that. But you don't. You need to take your time, take a step back, and work on that silhouette a little more. No, this is not a freelance project. No, I would not be able to work on something like that on stream. Can you pay your bills only with your sculpting? Yes, I have been paying my bills only with my sculpting for for a long time. I'm a professional sculptor, meaning that it is my full-time job. Let's slide this guy forward. We'll just do the same thing, get a general direction there. So look at this silhouette. See how that kind of curls back on itself? That's not what we see happening over there. That is not the shape language of our silhouette. Comes straight down into the ankle. Okay, we can keep that rough. Continue forward here. I do not know Danish. No, I'm sorry. You cannot use ZBrush on an iPad. How much did it cost you to get your brushes? Nothing. I made all of my brushes. And you can get my brushes from my Gumroad. There might be a link down below in the description. If not, it's gumroad.com/Follygoon. Let me see. Yes, there is a link down in the description for my brushes. But yes, I made all of my brushes, so not all of them. I have a lot of brushes in here, right? Not all of them are mine. Like clearly, the smartest brush is I am blanking on. It's not Scott. I don't know why I want to say Scott. You can include your name in the creation of these brushes, but they did not. But he goes by Smartest. He's a Pixelogic live streamer, one of the official live streamers like myself, although I have not streamed on there in quite a while, which I feel a little bit bad about. But I've been very busy with, I haven't streamed here in a very long time either. I've just been very busy with lots of sculpting, lots of different things. Life. Lots of life things. You really love my pinch brush. Well, thank you. I really love my pinch brush, too. That's why I use it. Yeah, it's a great little brush. The default pinch brush is the default one's very nice as well. I just like mine a little bit more. You can do everything I am doing with the default brushes in ZBrush. I'm not gonna say you need to go get my brushes. Absolutely not. I would actually say the opposite. I would say don't buy my brushes. I would say get used to the default brushes. Try them out. They're good brushes. Mine are great for my workflow and everything that I do. I'm a horrible salesman, right? But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to get the full value out of my brushes right now. Experience the default brushes. Learn them. Know them. Become them. I don't know what I'm doing. We need to pull down this chin is what we need to do. Give a little bit more form there. And then that kind of slides back underneath. So this kind of pulls out. And we'll blend that. Still keeping things nice and messy, right? Nice and Nessie, maybe. Looking a little Nessie-like. Let's see. Give me that sharp soft once again. So just follow the form of this lip all the way through, and then it kind of fades out a little bit there. For the eye placement, initially I wouldn't worry about getting it perfect. You can, the great thing about digital here is that you can kind of move things around if you need to. Just kind of sketch on the surface a little bit here. This appears close enough proportionally to where we're going to want that. And then this kind of shelf-like form here pulls out a little bit more. We'll work on this head. Because we're actually, we might focus in a little bit more on the head specifically, since I think that's more fun. And because we're on a limited time amount here. But let's go ahead and append. Whoop. See, even I struggle sometimes with the UI. That's one of the more annoying little ones, though. All right, let's pull this up. Let's rotate this. Good old transpose line. Scale that back down into place. Right about there. What is my favorite thing to sculpt? That is a good question. It's definitely not hands. Hands suck. I can tell you what I don't like sculpting. What is my favorite thing to sculpt? I love working on just stylized characters like what we're doing here. Anything with interesting shapes, I would say. I am a sculptor first and foremost, and wow, he's looking ugly, isn't he? My thing that I care about more than anything else is form, like the 3D nature of it, the form. Form is king. So anything with interesting shapes, and this guy definitely has some interesting shapes. I could sculpt these directly on top, just to show another technique here. What you can do is just insert a sphere or a primitive shape right here. Represent this interesting shape, and there's a lot of blocky shape language with this guy, which is what we were talking about earlier, with something like this, right? Just get that into place. Now I could have sculpted this shape directly on top. I mean, there's always a million different ways to do things here. Or we can just do this. I could have sculpted those lips on top, which is, I mean, I did do that, but I could have made that a separate form as well. It really just kind of comes down to preference, what you like doing. Sometimes I, mix and match different processes here. This is an example. You got this nostril here on top. You got this back of this shape. This actually tapers. This I can't show you my hands here, but it kind of tapers more back this way. I need to get some of that in there. And we will here very soon. But to do that first, I should run a quick polygroup through here so that when I remesh this, we can get some better results. He's not looking ugly, he's looking funky. He is looking funky. How do you know how it will look? Well, that's an interesting question. That's a good question. How do you know how it will look? Experience, I would say, is the biggest factor there. But also, if you're working from a concept or something else, you can definitely go off of that. Head in that direction. That's what you're kind of aiming for. It's a good question, though. I would say experience is the best teacher when it comes to knowing. I mean, the way you're saying that's a little bit odd, but essentially what you're saying is, how do you see the sculpture underneath, right? I would say the first thing you need to kind of figure out and master is the process of going from primary, secondary to tertiary form, meaning that you look at a shape, you look at a head like this for this dinosaur, right? And you have to break that down into the most basic shape that you possibly can. And then you have to start working on that. You start heading in that direction. But when you're working on that, you can't get caught up on what things are looking like right now. You have to be more focused on where things are going, how things are going to shape up. And to do that, you really got to hone in and focus on those primary shapes. After you get those really solid, then you can kind of move on to your secondary shapes and do that a bit more. But it's really easy to get tunnel vision. It's really easy to get held up, stuck working on one specific area for too long. And you don't want that. So like right now, I need to work on this primary shape a little bit more. This kind of comes up quite a bit higher. So if we look at this, we come up and then down. So up, right, up, and then back down. There's some more maybe intricacies to that shape, but just focus on the most basic first. If you can get the most basic right, you're golden. From there, it's just reiterating on that process. He's a little bit flatter on top, looks like. It's got like this little pull out here as well. That's more of something we can focus on into the secondary. All right, So that mouth, since we've kind of marked that up a little bit, we can do that a little more. We come back here, back, and we flow around like so. Let's push this up a little bit. This shape's a little bit awkward through here. This needs to blend a little bit better. Something like that more so than what we've got right now. Just need to change the direction of this and get this kind of corner of the lip a little bit heavier. A couple ways to do that. I've started carving in around that. That's a good way to start a shape like this, but at the end of the day, I think it's easier to just get in there, mask it off, start yoinking on it. Start yoinking. That is that's a sculpting term. Yoinking. Yoinking? Yoinking. Sure. I need to stop saying yoinking. Do I work with a mouse? Absolutely. Absolutely, I work with a mouse. But I mainly use the pen. I use the mouse for lots of little things. You can sculpt with a mouse, but I would say it's like trying to sculpt. It's like trying to paint with a rock. Like, why would you? We have the technology. We have the technology. It is possible to use a pen. I would use a pen. You can have a lot better time using a pen with pressure sensitivity. That doesn't mean you have to buy a super expensive tablet. I have a bunch of recommendations for tablets. I've made all sorts of videos about that kind of stuff. Well, not really too many, but if you go to sculptober.com, there's some recommendations down there on that website. I'm trying to think where else they are listed. I have a couple videos, but that's probably the easiest way to find them. You can get a really cheap, nice tablet for under $50. A really nice tablet that'll last you years, if not your entire art career. You do not have to have a screen on your workspace. I like having one. I prefer it quite a bit. Not everybody does, though. And that's okay. Use the tool. I always say use the tool that's, best for the job. And that's not always the same for everybody. For me, it's my big old honkin' Cintiq here. Just trying to build this form up a little bit more. Not doing a very clean job of it, though. Let's see. So, looking at this shape, it's kind of like a cloud, right? We got 1, 2, and then it's flat on the bottom. So let's see if we can get that a little more flat. You prefer a tablet to keep your desk clean? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know a lot of people that prefer just a pen and tablet. You don't always need a graphics display. Everybody's got their preference. And if you don't have a preference, I would start with the cheaper option. Alright, so let's get that started. Get that basic shape started. This comes down a bit deeper here. There's like a little bit of a corner pull out. And then actually it looks like this maybe gets a bit wider there. So I think there's a little bit more depth going on here than just this basic shape. So it looks like it's getting a little bit like this sunken in cavity. And then there's like a lower lid kind of tucked inside of there. That eye maybe needs to be a little smaller. So I'll create very quickly. We will just duplicate our eyeball. I'll do this in the easiest way possible. And just cut through the geometry, maybe about there. And there we go. We got kind of a lower lid kind of shape. tucked inside of there. And then we can adjust that if we need to. You know, maybe pull it up a little bit higher. I think that kind of works for starting to head that shape in the right direction. And we can play with that more if we need to. It looks like maybe there's actually a little top lid in there as well. So maybe, you know, something like that. Exact same on top. Same idea. And just kind of get that basic shape in there. Doesn't need to be perfect. Your objective is not to make something perfect right now. Even at this stage. We're still just kind of focusing on those primary shapes. Get the idea of it. Come back and refine it later. All right, that starts to pull in a little bit awkwardly there. That's why it's also important to look at your sculpts, look at your 3D artwork from as many angles as you can. And it looks like it's kind of tapering in, kind of wedging. Whoops. Kind of wedging in a little bit too much. So let's see how, if I can rotate. There we go. A bit odd. Let me pull that out. Get that feeling a bit more square. Maybe taper in towards the front a little bit so it's not... You know what? Actually, it looks like it's getting a little bit bigger. I don't want it... I don't want to have these, you know, boring parallel lines in the silhouette. I want the shape, the larger shape, right, to be visually interesting. And to do that, there's a lot of ways that we can achieve that idea. This is just kind of one of them here. I assume that it's going to kind of taper in from this angle as well, because we have that happening from this angle. It's kind of tapering out into this big old schnoz out here. So if we can get that kind of maintaining that idea, that shape language from other angles, that is going to look real nice, real similar from those other angles. I usually hear sculptors say it's better to start sculpts with a low resolution mesh, but I see you have high resolution meshes. Is there a reason why you go that way? Yeah. The reason why it's better to start with low res, and I do have a low res piece here, is because the less polygons you have, the easier they are to control. That is an objective fact when it comes to 3D modeling. And when you are talking about the early stages of sculpting, you're creating simple shapes. So take a look at this neck. Very low res, very low poly. Take a look at this head. I have subdivs on it, but I have a very low res kind of starting point there. Very easy for me to come in here with a move brush, manipulate on those big scale proportions like I was just doing, and then take a step back and, you know, go back up to my higher res and continue sculpting and blocking out some different, you know, planes here for the nose, some other stuff, and then continue forward. But yes, I would say if you're new to sculpting and you don't have a fundamental grasp of this idea, it's not something that you're just going to kind of start doing naturally. It is going to take time. It is going to take time to kind of get to the point where you understand how much resolution you need to work right now. I can't give you a spreadsheet that's like 15 minutes in, you should have this many polygons for blah, blah, blah. No, that's not how it's going to work. You're going to need the resolution that you need, and the only way that you are going to learn that is by sculpting a lot. Sculpting, practicing, figuring out what you need when you need it. Here, I need a little bit more resolution to kind of pull this shape out. Go through here. Get that looking a little bit more close to that silhouette, although that looks like it's coming out a little bit too far. I'm not entirely sure yet. Something that I need to work with a little bit more. This needs to come out further in the back. And then take a look at this. It kind of curls back this direction a little bit. I could add in a couple more polys or couple subdivs here, a couple more polys. Let's see, what was that? Yeah, like 6,000 more polys, a couple more to get that to bow out that direction. I like working by just adding in geometry whenever I see fit. And then like here, you know, with the neck, I'm just adding a subdivision or two, pulling that shape out. And I'm fine. I'm fine with it getting messy. I'm fine with, just working with this higher res piece, because I always know I can drop that back down. I can dynamesh it, I can remesh it, z-remesh it, whatever I need to do in a moment's notice. And I am constantly jumping back and forth between dynamesh, z-remesher, and subdivision workflow. It really just depends on what you need. And like I said, that's something that kind of comes with time. Could reattach that. That's a bit too strong. Bowing out there, so a bit more flat. So this kind of tapers in right here under this shape, and then it immediately starts widening out there. Let me look at that for a second longer. Now, like I said, I'm not going to do the rest of this probably with the time that we have today, but I just want to get that shape coming down the neck correctly. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is split. Whoops, wrong brush. I'm going to split that off. So there's my neck. There's this. And then I'm going to combine that top portion of the neck with the head. Remember, like I said, I'm always jumping back and forth. Here we are. We had subdivs. Now we're dynameshing. Why are we dynameshing? Because dynamesh has an inherent ability to boolean stuff together very quickly. So there we go. We've booleaned our neck. And now we can z-remesh this back and get our subdivs back in just a matter of, a minute, if not less. Very easy. You just got to practice the workflow back and forth, back and forth. Okay. Coming down that neck. I think that this is going to be a bit further down from that form that I can see. It's also very nice to move your light source if you need to occasionally. That's why I keep mine down here in my UI. So I can shift that so I can see, because sometimes those shadows get in the way. When you're working on the underside of something, you can always flip it upside down as well. Also very handy to kind of refresh your eyes to flip your work upside down. I should try sculpting an entire face upside down. That would be tough. I have sculpted with Blender, yes. I actually like Blender a lot. I love Blender. I'm not a fan of the sculpting tools, though, personally. I like ZBrush a lot more. If I would have started with Blender, I don't know if I would say the same. I might feel the opposite. Feel that I like ZBrush a lot more. Or I'm sorry, I like Blender a lot more as compared to ZBrush. But in my honest opinion, I don't think that the sculpting tools of Blender are there yet. Just from an objective standpoint. A lot more powerful in ZBrush from my experience. Yes, I did one other Nicholas... Oh, no, wait, this isn't Nicholas Cole. No, this is not Nicholas Cole. This is Nicola Saviori. Not Nicholas Cole. But yes, what did I do of Nicholas Cole? Was it The Crash? Or something else? I don't remember. Too many sculpts. All right, so the head is, it's getting closer, right? Right. Let's take a look at these nostrils. What do we want to do with these guys? Let's get a mask. Get a mask in here. That needs to come back more. Just working on that shape, getting it a little closer. We're gonna pull the corner here of this a little more this way before we blend that together. That still needs to come a little higher. A little higher. Dynamesh those. Clean them up. Take a look at that. Look at that nasty shape. We don't care though. It's hidden. Can't see it. Doesn't matter. Okay, so the chin needs to come down further. A couple other changes there to work on for the lips. Proportionally, we're heading in a good direction. The eye, this form needs to kind of come out a little bit more. Let's work up here for like 2 seconds. Then we'll remesh. Unless something else glaringly obvious sticks out for us. Getting a little bit more leg than we should be at this stage. Hardly any polys on screen, but probably because I am streaming as well. I have quite the beast machine here, minus the graphics card. Been waiting for 3080 so I can get one of those. My graphics card is the only thing in my computer that's a little bit on the weak side. But I got all the RAM anybody could ever want. I've had 64 gigs of RAM for maybe a few years now, quite a while. But that was back when I was working on hundreds of millions of polys for some large projects. I don't typically go quite that high, but this one in particular that I was working on, I definitely needed it. It was for a Disney project for Iron Man. This was a number of years ago. Like I said, at least 3. It was for an amusement park. And Iron Man was going to come out. He was going to like, what did he have? He had like smoke and he had like a bunch of different lights in him. It was a cool project. It never got completed though. The mesh they sent originally was horrible. Horribly dense, horribly crazy. Send a save to Brazil. What's going on, everybody? Welcome from Brazil or wherever you're watching from. If you're new here, glad to have you. I don't stream very often. I haven't streamed in a very long time, but maybe we should do it a little bit more. I think it's fun to stream. I just had a little technical difficulties there at the very beginning. I actually had the stream set to private, and that was pretty embarrassing. But hey, we got it figured out eventually. Just like 5 minutes in of talking to myself. It's a good time, good time. Hello from India. Welcome. A lot of Brazil viewers. What's going on, Brazil? What's good in Brazil right now? There's not a lot of good things going on, but I know there's something good going on in Brazil. There's one good thing. All right, creasing this mouth up. Like I said, I'll remesh this now. I think I could get a bit of a longer, or I guess deeper distance here. Pull that. Well, actually, maybe I can just pinch this and get the same effect. Something like that. It doesn't need to be perfect. I can work on it more after I remesh. Because of the density of the geometry, it's hard to adjust. Oh, I don't have an eye on the other side. Yeah, okay, let's remesh that. Okay, so get our history recall point. I will once again just do, whoops, one of these. Looks fine. Okay. Have you ever tried modeling, or do you always sculpt? Well, digital sculpting is modeling. It's just high resolution 3D modeling. Yes, I do poly model as well. I got my start, like many, poly modeling. Oh, I meant to combine those nostrils. That's okay. I see quite frequently, I'll have a video that'll, reach the outside world, the outside world of people that know nothing about digital sculpting. They're like, this is not sculpting, you have lied to me. And I'm like, well, this is the future of sculpting, my friend. This is how we do it now. Sometimes I forget it's live and try to fast forward. Yes. Skip this boring man. Show me the dino. Give me the dino. We'll put some color on him here in a sec. Sculpting is a slow process, and for people that don't sculpt, sometimes it's a bit surprising when you find out exactly how slow it is. And I am, when I am not streaming, a very fast, much faster sculptor than I used to be. I used to always say that I was a very slow sculptor. I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. But sculpting is a slow process. Very slow. If you want to be in an art medium where you can make a lot of stuff quickly, don't pick sculpting. Okay, we're going to refine this shape a little more. Round it out. Soften it. Just going through there with a clay brush, a smooth brush. Check out the angle of this plane change. Just flow that through, follow that flow of form, soften it. Looks pretty good. It's getting there. It's a little bit messy down here. We're getting there though. We are getting there. That's all you can say when you're in the middle of a sculpt. We're getting there. It's gonna take some time. But all good things in time. Future, yes. Yes, any SpongeBob quotes. I'm all about it. It's my childhood. You are asking the wrong guy when it comes to rigging. I've done very, very minor rigging and skin weighting. And that is a very specific rig that you are referencing, so I'm sorry, I can't help you there. Hello from Argentina. Welcome. How are you doing? I no longer do the free critique sessions. I simply just don't have time for those, unfortunately. It's a thing that I used to do a number of years ago. But if you want critique or mentorship, the really only way that you're going to get that right now from me is through my course, the Appeal Academy. That is all I have right now in terms of time. All my time goes into working on that. During Sculptober, I tried to make models in 2 hours, but I'm such a slow modeler that I used to take at least 4 to model and render. It took me down for a while. Did you ever feel bad about the time you take? Speed, I'm going to be honest with you. Speed is just something that comes with sculpting a lot. You will get faster the more you do it. I would not try to just inherently get faster. I can't really think of a good example, but that's just kind of how it is. Speed is something that comes with comfortability, with confidence. And the way you get more comfortable and the way you get more confident is by sculpting a lot, because eventually you'll just say, oh, I've seen this situation before. I know exactly what to do, and you don't think twice about it. You just immediately do it. But yeah. I wouldn't be worried about things taking a specific amount of time. However long it takes you, that's how long it takes you, and there's no reason that it should take you more or less. It takes you what it takes you, you know? Don't be in a hurry. Don't try to rush things. If you're just trying to do a daily sculpt, like you said for Sculptober, you know, if you're not happy with your work that you can do in 2 hours, no worries. Like, the point of Sculptober and the point of a lot of those challenges is just to get you sculpting, just to get you going. After that point, you know, you don't have to, it's not like a hard set thing where it's like you have to finish this piece today. Although in my my training doc, my 30 days of sculpting doc, I do recommend that you only work on a piece for a single day and then move on to some other stuff. There's not a whole lot of reason when you are just practicing on kind of getting your repetition and your hour count up when you're maybe a little bit more new to sculpting. There's no reason to spend a ton of time on a sculpt. You're going to learn the most from those early stages, and doing more than that, in my opinion, and for a lot of things is going to be a waste of your time. Not for everything, but for a lot of things it will be. I'm going to hand paint in just some rough shadow down here. I'm just color blocking right now. We'll get more on here very soon. But yeah, don't worry about speed. It's not a big deal. You'll get faster with time. Just sampling some more colors very quickly, painting in some areas. You gotta be careful when hand painting shadows. That got a little bit messy. Hand painting shadows can be very dangerous. All right, we'll grab our eyeball. Just fill that in really quick. I'll use my toy plastic so I can get a shiny eye, even though we most likely won't see that from that angle. Let's see, this gets a bit of a darker hue. Darker value, I should say, around that eye cavity. There we go. All right, so when painting, it's just like sculpting, right? You gotta get the initial shades, the initial values, the initial hues all in there. And then after you kind of get things rough into place, then you can start doing a bit more in terms of specifics. You don't need it to be perfect right from the get-go. We'll have to get some teeth in here too. For these lips, I have some polygroups set up here. Not extremely clean, but it should be good enough for me to get this a bit closer, a bit tighter. Specifically around here, I need to change the shape for the corner. Forward, this gets really heavy. Right here, there's actually a bit more room for the teeth. Oops, let's see. So this point right here, there's gonna be some teeth sitting on this lip, so we need to pull it out a little. Well, not sitting on the lip is like curling around them. It's important to make things interact in a believable way. And then coming down here, this is gonna be an interesting kind of thing. It's kind of like rolls out this way. Something like that. I think that'll be fine. All right, some teeth on there will make that feel a little bit better. Also a little bit of inflate. I don't personally like the inflate brush too much, but I've been trying to use it, force myself to use it a bit more. In specific areas, it can be fun. Hey Ryan, welcome. How are you doing, man? And welcome everybody else that's just joining us. What was your favorite YouTube collab? Oh man. So this is probably, I don't want to say like one was better than another, but I pretty much answer this question probably in the same way that I answer like, what's like the favorite thing that you've ever sculpted? And it's always like the most recent thing I've worked on. So definitely the which I believe was that thief character, if I'm not mistaken. I loved that character so much. Absolutely beautiful shapes. And I cannot remember her name off the top of my head, which I apologize for. It's on the tip of my tongue. But sculpting a dinosaur kind of blocks my brain from thinking about anything else. That's heading in the right direction here for those interested. Yes, the witty thief that gets into trouble, that is correct. That was actually quite a while ago when I'm like sitting here looking back through my videos, because this was Chelsea Gracie, yes. This was before even Sculptober. So Sculptober was actually like my last really big project. My last 2D to 3D video, though, for those who haven't seen, which is a lot of people, you should definitely go watch it over on my channel. I did Bowser Jr. based off of a Luis Huerta artwork. It was a ton of fun. Yes, Chelsea Gracie, yeah. Yeah, that was, that character, I love the face of that character. Absolutely gorgeous. Tons of fun. Anytime you get some really interesting shapes. Anytime I'm a big fan, we were talking about earlier at the beginning of the stream, what's like some of your favorite stuff to sculpt? And I said just anytime you have some interesting shapes, when you have anything that kind of breaks the anatomical form in a really interesting way, and by break the anatomical form, I mean deviate from the standard or from the norm, that is always something that I really enjoy sculpting. You get some really interesting shapes that way, or you can get some really interesting shapes that way. And that was one really good example of where we got exactly that. A lot of fun to work on that character. I haven't done a collab in a while, but I would like to. One thing I really enjoy about doing those collabs is, well, the thing that I enjoy the most, and it's the same thing that I enjoy the most about like when I just did that Bowser Jr. sculpt. And it's that moment where you get to like share it with the artist who made the 2D artwork, and they get to see it for the first time. But those are even more fun because they get to show their reaction on camera, and that's always something special. But yeah, like when I just share something on like Twitter or whatever, or here, and the artist is like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" It's like, yeah, that's cool. Like seeing that text, but like seeing their actual reaction, it's like, that's a lot of fun. Just cleaning up this shape for the brow, our cloud brow. There's a little bit more of a unique extra form right there that I am going to get now. Kind of coming up this way. I don't think I'm going to make it thick enough though. Might need to pull this out a bit more. Dynamesh makes details less and less gap. How do you keep resolution for the entire process? You need to look up Z-remesher and reprojection workflows. You need to learn how to reproject your form after you remesh. This is a very beginner workflow. You need to learn how to remesh and project. And once you learn how to do that, your resolution will never be a problem ever again. Just continuing the flow of this shape backwards, and then I'll blend it. So flow back, soften out. All right. Let's check out these lids. What do we want to do here? I think I want to just soften these shapes. What is going on here? There we go. Okay, I could inflate these a little bit, get them a little more thick. I think that works. Remeshing does not keep UVs, no. No, you cannot remesh and keep the same UVs. UVs are dependent on your topology, and remeshing changes your topology. So, okay, those don't actually need to be connected. They just need to be kind of heading towards each other. Oh, way too low. Let's try like 1,000. And I'm just softening this edge. Don't want it to be quite as sharp like what we had before. It does not need to be sharp. Let's get that nice shape in there. It's looking cool. Those teeth will really help this start to feel a bit more like the dino. And then at that point, we'll have even more little proportions we can tweak. Here, the reason why I oriented this sphere in this particular direction is so that I can just paint the pupil right there. Just like that, right on that vert. Polypaint is vertex paint, or vertex color. Slide it forward, or rotate it forward, like right there. It's actually a little too big. He's got a smaller pupil, doesn't he? And it looks like the eye is actually really inset. A bit more than what I have. Let's see if I can push that in a little bit more. I do prefer using my mech brush to the pinch brush. I like the pinch brush a lot. It actually depends on the situation, but I would say 75% of the time, maybe more, I use my mech brush. Yes, all pinch brushes are going to leave something like that. Maybe not all, but because of the nature of a pinch brush, it's going to warp your geometry. It's going to pinch it. Just trying to get this eye cavity a little more deep. Spending a little more time on the eye. Eyes are important. They hold a lot of the character, a lot of the expression for a character. Eyes and mouth. That's where all the expression lives. So like here, you're just asking about that pinch brush. So I'm just like forcing my geometry this way, but see how the topology is getting really pinched? That's okay though. I can just go back down a subdiv or two, soften it out, follow this flow right through here, blend that out, thinking about the quality of my edges. Get some interesting shapes. And then, of course, look at everything from lots of different angles. We are 3D artists. We are 3D artists. We gotta look at it, make sure it looks good from every which way. All right. And some teeth, right? And that's one of the next things we need to do. Been missing those for quite a while. I miss my teeth. All right, let's get some teeth. Now the topology is completely different from where I started sculpting. Here, let's roll through these undos. We go through Dynamesh, we go through Z-Remesher, we go back to Dynamesh. All over the place. Oh look, here we are. Our good old chum, the sphere. Do. Rough. Dynamesh. Scrolling forward. Lots of changes. Ooh, we'll change that color. Pink. Beautiful. It's really about just what you need at the time, as I've said. And there we are. That's where we are now. But still more work to go. Always more work to go. And for that, let's see. How do we want to insert a tooth? A twofer. Let's, let's just grab a cube. Nice cube. And I'll just plop a cube right here. And I'll use that. Okay. Unfortunately, that cube becomes a sphere when I smooth it. So let me do a divide like that first. We'll do 2 of those. I turned off the smooth modifier there so that I could divide it without it smoothing the polys. For the poly modelers out there, it's essentially like adding some creased edges, but I just did it very quickly. Let's get one tooth looking pretty good. So they kind of like have a, it looks like they are a bit more prism shaped. Maybe not. Maybe that's just the angle of the tooth. So like, nah, that doesn't work. I'll just use my move brush really quick. Getting them a bit more curvy like that. This one's a bit more stout, a bit more wide and squat, aka stout. Slide that in. All right, so we will get the rough placement for the teeth first, just like everything else, all right? Don't work on one and try to get it perfect. Just get one into general position and get the rest. And then we can work on everything together. So I'll duplicate. Slide over here. There are like 2 teeth right next to each other that I can represent with one form and then like split it down the middle. These are going to be some fun teeth. And then there's like one small one there. Over 9,000 undos? No, that was only like 1,000. I don't think it goes up to 9,000, unfortunately. Not that you need it. I don't need the undos. You only really need undos if you do like some drastic kind of error. You have a crash or something gets, what would be the word? Corrupt. A file would get corrupt. But even in that case, you just save in some version control and you're fine. I never save undos. Nor should you. If you don't have a good reason to be saving your undos, don't. It's not worth it. Not worth the amount of data. Okay, this is a bit taller. I might need to change the proportions here slightly, but that's okay. Okay, then this tooth, which is a little smaller. The dinosaur is illustrated by Nicola Salviori. Let me double check. Nicola Salviori, yes, that is correct. Getting a little close there. It's close enough. Let's continue with the rest. So like I said, let's get the basics. Duplicate. Grab this guy. rotate them, pull them up. Whoops, pull them up here. Let's see, right about here it looks fine. Squash, rotate. Now I already moved that lip out to make room for this, but it looks like it might need a little more. A little more room. So when you are creating anything that is going to interact with another portion of your form, so like teeth set into a mouth, or an eye in an eye cavity, whatever it might be, you have to make that believable. You have to spend a little more time on those areas. It's easy to kind of just get it into place and move on, but you gotta make it believable, because this isn't, set into the mouth in the gum. I'm just creating the illusion that it is. It is not physically accurate to what this stylized dinosaur would have here. So we're going to carve in right through here. Just make a little more room. And let me mask that area off now and pull that lip up. Yes, ZBrush remembers all those undos. It's handy if you need it. You can do some really interesting stuff with recording, actually, for some time lapses. If at the end of this we still have those undos, I can show you that. It's actually really fun. All right, so let me, the position of this is a little bit funky. Let me just do this real quick. Slide that in. We'll just get that roughly into place. I just want to get both of them there, so then I can work on the lip a little bit more. Working on the lip with just one of the teeth there is just going to waste time. So let's get them both. Okay, they don't need to be perfect, just in the general locale. Okay, so this actually comes up a bit higher here. This gets really tight. And I said earlier that I need to change this shape. I should do that now. So this comes back really tight. Maybe a little bit forward. Get this volume right here, which is what is creating this tight crease. A lot of stuff going on here. But that's why you got to start one shape, start with the basic. And then over time you come back and build it up. Don't need to do it all at once. You're going to really struggle if you try to do it all at once. Need to turn this edge a little bit. It's just being a little bit awkward. It's good enough for now. Close enough. Close enough sometimes is. Although if you're working on client stuff, close enough typically is not. I don't remember which CPU I have. It's like one of the, it's an i7, like 5-year-old something Lake, whatever, when they were naming them after lakes processor. And I have a 980, but I want, it's the only weak part of my computer. It's the thing I need upgraded the most. Going to get a 3080 as soon as I can. All right, a little bit of inflate through here. Coming down. Cyberdyne. I'm not familiar with Cyberdyne, unless it's a play on, excuse me, unless it's a play on Dino. Yeah, I do some hard surface stuff. Mostly focusing on accessories. No, like, not too many mechs or robots or anything like that. But not always organic. Although I would say that I prefer oh my god, my throat's dying. Or I would prefer organic. I haven't talked this much in a long time, even though I'm not talking that much. It's been a while since the last stream, hasn't it? Quite a while. Too long, in fact, some might say. I might say too long. I used to stream on Twitch like every day. But then I had to do real work. No, I was still doing real work back then, just not quite as busy as I am now. Really liking that shape. I'm trying to get this curve to feel a bit better. So we got this hard edge, right? And then this curve on top. Trying to get that to feel just a little nicer. So such a flat, that doesn't really work. Doesn't do what I want. Trying to get this a little more flat towards the back, and then right at the eye is when it starts to inflate and push forward. So now, instead of just being even, like a nice symmetrical curve, we're getting this really cool silhouette that goes from something a bit more flat to something a bit more curvy. And then we start getting some cool shapes. Hey, I like me some cool shapes. Get some teeth over on that other side. All right, he's starting to shape up. There's definitely some more that we can do here. And let me see. I actually have about 20 more minutes before I gotta bounce. So during that time, will finish up on this guy. And I'll try to pay a little bit more closer attention to chat. I wanted to make sure that, I got to a semi-complete state here. And because of that, I haven't really been paying attention to chat as much as I could have. So I apologize for that, but yeah, I'll try to read a little bit more here as I noodle around and clean some things up. So the wriggle on the back of the head doesn't drop or point downward like in the pic. The wriggle, drop or point downward. So we're coming out, straight line, and then we're curving back in. So out and then curving back in. And then this point here, the second point, we're coming down at maybe a little over a 45, and then in at a little over a 90. So that will need to change. The wriggle. I like that word, though. Yes, all things in good time. That's one of the things we'll clean up here. Just playing around with this shape a little bit more, though. There's quite a bit more here with this distance that's more important. Right through here that needs to change. So we'll get all that, like I said, in time. ZenWorks, hello and welcome. What's up with Sculptress Pro? Sculptress Pro is awesome. If you haven't used it, I recommend playing around with it. Great little tool. Lots of fun functionality there. The space between the top of the head and jaw looks thinner on the illustration. Yes, that is literally what I just pointed out. All things in good time, guys. One thing at a time, though. Can't work on everything at the same time. I'm new to your stream. Well, I'm new to my stream too. So welcome. We can both be new. All right. So the big change here that we're going to make Gonna pull this area in. Luckily, we have subdivs. Very helpful, right? Let's go around this area. Around and down. Maybe a touch more through here. Yeah, let's actually go all the way down. Because the way this is gonna blur, it's gonna make some big changes. We're gonna slide this up initially, like so. Push, push, push. Right about there. Toggle off the teeth. Let's look at that distance proportionally. Just eyeball it. A lot closer. Look at that. Closer, closer. Okay. Oh, I still want that mask. Move brush, back corner, down. A little wider here. A little further back. We don't want quite this drop here as well. This is going to cast far too much of a shadow. So let's grab a mask through here as well. Ooh. Not quite like that. More like that. Okay, blur that mask. Let's widen that transition coming out for the neck. Can you build buildings in ZBrush? Absolutely. Absolutely. The poly modeling tool in ZBrush called the ZModeler brush. It's called the ZModeler brush, but it's not much of a brush really. More of a very large poly modeling tool. Has been recently upgraded to include some stuff that should have been in there from the start, but you know, just the fact that we have a poly modeling tool in here at all is very nice. You know, they're slowly adding in things that people are asking for. It's really just a matter of time before they go through the whole thing and get the whole kit and caboodle in. But you know, at the end of the day, it is a sculpting program, so they're going to keep those sculpting tools as nice as possible, and keep working on and improving those. But it's nice to get some of those other quality of life functions as well. If you're not familiar with the ZModeler brush, I highly recommend looking into it. I have a nice little tutorial or old live stream / tutorial here on my YouTube channel that goes into it quite in depth. And yeah, I'm sure there's tons of other free tutorials out there if you need even more info on it. I recommend just playing around with it though. Just get in, start using it, try out a few of the functions, see how they work. There's also the Z Classroom, which is Pixelogic's official tutorials. I don't think they've updated them too much recently, because a lot more people are creating content on YouTube. Back before I got started, nobody was. But yeah, they have some good tutorials on it as well. This needs to come forward more. We're also looking at this from a bit of a 3/4 view, something a little more like this. Oh, where's our teeth? Let's move those. This is maybe a little too deep as well. Could round out some more. Look at this from some other angles. Okay, let's change the back of the head. Couple ways to do this. I will just plane out. Whoops. Mask, then plane out. Just flattening this angle. So we're taking that, making it a bit sharper. We're just shifting that plane change. Just like this. Tightening up and pushing up here. Get that a bit closer. So I'm coming down, then in. Comes in a bit sharper though. All right. So something like that. And then this is, you know, an organic character. So when you are blocking stuff out, you know, you're finding those angles, finding that silhouette information. It's nice to keep it nice and sharp, nice and hard. But you got to soften it. You know, it's an organic form. It's not quite that sharp and hard in the silhouette. Same thing up here. Not quite as sharp and hard. This edge especially. But I wanted to keep this in a place where I could very easily see how this edge was rolling. Ooh, again, some poly paint issues there. No worries. That's some stuff that we can correct later. The poly paint on this is still actually very rough. So that can be something we work on here with our remaining time as well. How do you choose which character to turn into 3D? Whatever I feel like, whatever I enjoy, whatever I like. So there's some cool shapes on here. For this, because I just had a couple hours to stream, I just very quickly went on ArtStation, checked out the front page, looked for something cool, saw this, and I said, that'll do for our stream. And normally I do some pre-planning before working on a character for a longer time, but with this, it's just something quick, so I didn't do anything. Just kind of dove right in and started sculpting. Not something, if you're going to be working on something for a longer project, this is just, a quick little doodle here for our time together. But if you're going to be working on something for a longer amount of time, I highly recommend do some pre-planning. Some draw-overs, figure out how some planes are changing, figure out your shapes, understand your character, become your character. Let's make this pupil smaller. Let's go. Let's see. So I can't. There we go. I was getting stuck. Maybe even potentially smaller. I don't know. I think that's fine though. It really doesn't need to be perfect. We're not going for pixel perfect. Although that is always fun. A good way to practice. All right, we can do some proportional changes here still. I'm not sure how I would stream working on Nomad with my iPad. I don't really have a way to do that right now, at least. I guess I could like point a video camera like this at my iPad and try to do that. But I'm not sure if that would come through very well for a stream. This is just a lot easier to set up. And it would be a very slow stream. I'm not very quick in Nomad. Let's take a look. All right. To Dynamesh or not to Dynamesh? I'm actually fine, I think, with a quick little Dyno mesh. Yes, I can share the name of the author again. It is Nicola Salviori. It is. It can be tough to learn ZBrush. I don't think it's, you know, the most difficult thing in the world. But I wouldn't look at it as learning ZBrush. This is not like learning how to use another software. You're not learning how to use the software. That is the first step, yes. But that's like saying I'm going to learn how to hold a paintbrush. Yes, you can learn how to hold the paintbrush, but you have to learn how to use the paintbrush. You have to learn the actual sculpting. So it's like, you're not just learning ZBrush. That is the first step. You will learn how to use the software, and then you have to learn the hard part. And some people think that learning the software is the hard part, but it's not. No. Learning how to sculpt well is the hard part. That is the difficult part. And if you get stuck on that software part, you're never going to make it there to the sculpting part. So yes, it is. Sculpting is very hard. I think that sculpting is a very hard artistic medium. I think. that 2D drawing and painting is a very hard artistic medium. Both require a lot of time to put in. Yeah, Nomad is really great for on the go. I'm a big fan of Nomad. I think it's fun. It's just I wish it was, I wish it was more. And it's just a matter of time before, either that becomes more or something new comes along that is more. But man, do I want it now. I want that mobile ZBrush. I want to have everything that I have here, but on the go. And the tech's not, it's just not there yet. But hopefully one day soon it will be. Oh, using like a Zoom or something like that to stream. I'm not sure if I could get that into my streaming software to share for YouTube. Although that is an idea. I like it. I like the creativity. Zoom. Just get a nice go-to meeting going. My favorite Disney sculpt. Oh man. I have no idea. Maybe that most recent little daily from Sculptober with Jafar. Vanellope, she's always cool. Did one of her during Sculptober. I also love me some Genie. Genie was a cool one. Lots of cool ones. I always have the most recent one on the brain, though. Oh, you know what? We could probably fit... It looks like there's enough neck showing that we could get some of those spikes for the back of the neck as well. Alright, just filling in some of the paint here. I am going to... This paint's, very messy in this illustration. Some of it's... Oh, that lip's a lot taller, isn't it? There's some messiness going on here. Some of that's the character of the 2D illustration. A lot of that's not going to translate here into 3D very well. But let me just get some of the muddy paint out of the way, and then I'll neutralize it, and then it'll feel a little bit nicer. Any particular free brushes that I recommend? The default brushes in ZBrush are very nice. I highly recommend them. They're very nice brushes. I mean, you can do everything you can do that I'm doing right now, you can do with the default brushes in ZBrush. I would say experiment with them. If you're looking for more brushes, just in general, I would say that's not a good idea. I wouldn't recommend doing that because you don't need more brushes. You need more practice. I'm not saying you specifically, of course, but the only time I would be looking up, a brush is if you need something really specific. If you're like, I need a brush to make curly hair because I am too lazy to make curly hair myself, which I am in fact too lazy to make some curly hair myself. So go grab yourself a nice curly hair brush. But in general, I don't think there's any reason not to use the default brushes if you're just looking for something nice. This is a little bit too sharp through here. If I could soften that, that would be great. We're a little too high res. Let's maybe remesh here in a second now that we've merged those nostrils. Raising this lip very gently through here. I would not recommend doing what I'm doing right now, which is using a larger move brush on this high-res Dynamesh. You will mess up and dirty your surface unless you kind of know what you're doing here. So be very careful. I'll go ahead and fix that. What's going on, James? How are you doing? Shane Olson's brushes are really nice. I've never used Shane's brushes, but I do know Shane. He's a great guy. If he's got some free brushes, I might check him out. I do use IMM brushes all the time. I have just one here in my bar at the bottom. But yeah, I use I use IMM brushes quite frequently. And stamp brushes. I'm not sure what a stamp brush is. I don't know what a stamp brush is. Maybe like an alpha? It might be called a stamp brush in another program, but not here in ZBrush. I did pick the colors directly from the image over here, yes. Oh, so this image is imported with Spotlight. Give me a second while this projection finishes. It's the C key, C, on your keyboard. Watch this. So C, watch the color over here on the left. C, C, C. I can sample my my UI, like this red over here. I can sample that with the C key. Literally anything on your screen in ZBrush, anything on your mesh, C, C. Actually, if I just hold it down, you can kind of see it move as I move my mouse. To sample from the Spotlight image, you just press, the Z key to activate your Spotlight here, and then you can just press the C key and sample any of those. So you have to import with Spotlight first. What's going on, Psycho? Welcome. Should have bumped the neck more? Bumped the neck more. Possibly. Do remember that we're looking at this from kind of this angle here, this like 3/4. So there's definitely some more we can do there to the silhouette. If anything, maybe a push in this way. Taper in this way. So you got to remember that, this isn't I'm looking at this from the profile because it's a little easier to see and snap my orientation there, but we're looking at that from a little bit of an angle. Let me grab that red. And we'll put some of those on the back of his neck. I know that the teeth aren't cleaned up as good as they could be, but I think we're going to run out of time here before I can kind of work on those a little more, unfortunately. But hey, this was a fun little stream. Like I said, it's been a long time since the last stream. So thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out. I'm not leaving yet. Here in a moment. Not quite yet. Just a couple more minutes, though. Get those roughly into place. Just something quick like that. I don't know this kanji, and two, it's a little too small for me to read, but thank you. Appreciate the kind words. Dinosaur is cute, yes. Yes, he is cute. He's a fun guy. Not a fun guy, a fungi. He's a fun dino. Let's see up here around these nostrils. A little more we can do here to noodle around. Well, Jay Russell, thank you for the donation. I didn't know you could do that. But yes, thank you a lot. Appreciate that. Thank you, man. That's very kind of you. Thought that was something I had to turn on. I joined the head and body using Dynamesh, and then I Z-remeshed from there. Absolutely, Jay. Glad to hang out for a little while and be able to maybe answer some questions along the way. while just kind of doing a little dino head sketch. Like I said, there's some more here that we can do, absolutely, to kind of push forward on this this dino head. Very simple for what we've done here during our time together. And maybe we can do this again sometime very soon. I think I would like that. And if you guys would like to see some future streams as well, let me know. And I'll try to do them a little more frequently when I have time. Yes, there's once a sphere, that is correct. I'm not sure if all the undos are still here. Yes, they are. So 1700 undos. Let's see. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Obviously, there's some additional subtools here. Something stuck to the bottom of my mouse. Making a weird noise. Very annoying. My mouse is actually on the fritz. I'm a little upset because whenever I click and hold my mouse, isn't that a fun view? It can't hold the click anymore. I'm going to have to buy a new mouse, I guess. But yes, just kind of scrolling through here from the very beginning. I had originally intended to start working on the full dino. Here's our block out for the body. We did not have time for that. So we just did the head. Hey, turn off there. There we go. So here you go. Starting from a sphere, moving forward in our undos. Very quickly through about 1700 or so brush strokes. And then eventually I did merge that neck down. And eventually added some nasty paint on there at first. Lots of little changes here and there. Until eventually, very quickly speeding ahead, we get to where we are now. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Thank you everybody for coming and joining the stream. For anybody that's new here, or for anybody that has not seen my most recent video, I did a sculpt of Bowser Jr. You should absolutely check it out. I do know The Land Before Time. Yes, I love The Land Before Time. I have not seen The Land Before Time in a long, long time. But yeah, fantastic series of films. I've not done a sculpt from there, but I would love to. Yep, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. It's been a lot of fun. If you're interested in checking out any of my stuff, got a ton of videos on the YouTube channel, a ton of stuff that you can download from the Gumroad if you're interested, brushes, etc. Although, like I said, I honestly recommend playing around with the default brushes a little bit first. I'm a terrible salesman, right? Use the default brushes. Try those. If you want to expand on those, maybe consider buying somebody's brushes. Maybe consider checking out mine. I have some other courses, some other stuff on there. I have my big course, the Appeal Academy. That is what I spend most of my time doing these days. And when I can, I create some videos here on YouTube, although I've been a little distant lately. But like I said, check out that most recent video. It was a lot of fun. Other than that, thank you again so much for watching, guys. You have a great rest of your day. And hopefully we can do this again sometime soon. All right. See you guys.